Welcome to Let's Talk About Disclosures. Content warning. Every effort has been made to make this session accessible to all. It is, however, important to note that the subject matter surrounding consent, sexual boundaries, and sexual violence will be discussed. If you do not feel comfortable attending this, please know that you can leave at any time. We will also have supports listed at the end of the presentation. Together, it's how it's done. What is the TCD Consent Education Programme? It is a primary prevention programme for sexual and gender-based violence and all forms of discrimination and harassment. This programme facilitates a whole community engagement towards a zero-tolerance approach to sexual and gender-based violence and all forms of discrimination and harassment. It establishes a multimodal engagement for students and staff. When we are more aware, we are more informed about how to approach this complex area. In TCD, we have a zero-tolerance approach, which means that we, as a community, do not condone any form of discrimination or violence. Therefore, we invite everyone to increase their awareness through this programme, and the outcome, we hope, is an increased collective understanding about positive sexual experiences. Finding our way with sexual and gender-based violence. Sexual violence doesn't happen in a void. The actions we take and the decisions we make in everyday life impact on the prevalence of sexual violence. Rape jokes, sexist comments, uncomfortable behaviour, and unwanted advances all contribute to a culture in which rape or sexual assault is seen by some as normal. From international bystander research in the area of sexual violence prevention, we can see from this model that the normalization of banter, for example, on the bottom tier, can contribute to increasing modes of degradation, removal of autonomy, and explicit violence within a community and within society itself. Now we are going to bring the most recent data on sexual violence. The reason being is that it establishes the reality within our communities and the wider societal context. How common is sexual violence? Taken from the Consent Sexual Experience Survey 2020. 29% of females, 10% of males, and 28% of non-binary students reported non-consensual penetration by incapacitation, force, or threat of force in their time in college. 31% of students reported being taken advantage of when too drunk or out of it to stop what was happening. 34% of female students experienced non-consensual vaginal penetration through coercion, incapacitation, force, or threat of force. And 46% of gender non-binary students experienced non-consensual sexual touching. In 2021, the Irish Higher Education Institution Survey tells us that 6 in 10 students experienced sexualized comments that included reference to their gender identity. Non-binary students were more likely than other groups to experience sexualized comments referencing their trans or non-binary identity. LGBTQIA+ or other sexual orientations were most likely to experience sexualized comments referencing their sexuality. Females experienced 30% more sexist hostility than males. An equally high level of sexist hostility was described by gender non-binary students as among female students. 42% of students said someone had sent or posted unwelcome sexual comments, jokes, or pictures by text or email, for example, via WhatsApp, Snapchat, Facebook, etc. And now the broader societal context of sexual and gender-based violence. The Sexual Violence Survey 2022 tells us that 52% of women reported experiencing sexual violence in their lifetime. 28% of men reported experiencing sexual violence in their lifetime. 22% of those aged between 18 and 24 reported experiencing sexual violence both as an adult and as a child. And 8% of those aged 65 and over reported experiencing sexual violence as a child and as an adult. Signposting. What is a disclosure? A disclosure or informal report is when an incident of harassment, abuse, rape, or other forms of behaviour which may violate the code of conduct of the institution or another policy is made to a person within an institution. This person could be a staff member or a student leader or another person, friend or colleague, within the institution, and this could happen in any context. Informal disclosures are not recorded in any form. This includes social media references, WhatsApp, texts, email, Snapchat, etc., and should not be recorded unless there is consent from the individual making the disclosure. For any form of reporting, signpost them to the designated person on your team if they wish to make a report that is recorded. When informal disclosures are made, the most important next step is to ensure the safety and the support of the person who made the disclosure. Hold that person in their truth at that time. Then, should they wish to formally disclose, offer them informed options and/or signpost to the supports which are at the end of this presentation. What is a disclosure or formal report? A formal report is a record made following a disclosure of an incident of harassment, abuse, rape, or another form of behaviour which violates the code of conduct of the institution or another policy. This report is recorded in a formal manner with details taken by a named person and kept in a named place. The Junior Dean is the person that deals with the formal reports in TCD. A report can also be made to the Garda. If you are being disclosed to, it means information disclosed is confidential to the service, not to you as an individual. This means you can discuss the situation with the appropriate persons listed in the supports at the end of this presentation. If it is a child protection or vulnerable persons issue, in which case we are obliged to contact the designated student or staff representatives. This is explained further in What Do I Do Now and What Do We Do Now under mandatory reporting. Your role. Your role is to respond with compassion and listen to someone who comes to you, and then to signpost on, if it is an informal report. If you're a designated person, to take a report, record details, and consider options. However, your role is not to investigate, but to provide support and signposting to those making the disclosure and/or the accused persons. It's that simple. Nothing more. Showing up to the moment as compassionately and without judgment as you can, then signposting towards supports as required. The key element to be aware of: the impact of the unwanted behaviour on the recipient, not the intention of the perpetrator. This is a key definition of sexual violence from within the TCD Dignity and Respect policy. This is the important trauma-informed shift in our thinking that keeps us on track regarding constructive and supportive outcomes for all involved. In respect to sexual violence, this means any activity of a sexual nature that is unwanted by the recipient. This includes any form of harassment and unwanted touching, all the way to sexual assault and rape. This approach also applies to any form of harassment or discrimination. So let's think about this. It is the impact of the unwanted behaviour, not the intention of the action. When responding to disclosures of sexual assault, rape, bullying or harassment, do react calmly. Don't probe them with questions about the incident. Do invite them to talk if they want to and ask open questions. Don't give opinions or make judgments on anyone's behaviour, theirs or the perpetrator. Do let them know you will take them seriously and will accept their account without questioning it. Don't tell them what they should do or encourage them to report. Do remember to keep an open mind about sexual violence, that it can take many forms, can happen to anyone, and everyone's response is individual. Don't make any promises about what might happen or what outcome they can expect if they make a report. Just say you don't know if you don't know. Do check in with what they need both now and in the future to feel okay or safe. Don't assume you know what's best for them. Do offer signposting for further support or taking further action. Don't express surprise or disbelief. Do ensure they are in full control over what happens next. Don't try to fix it. One of the greatest protective factors regarding receiving a disclosure of any kind is to be informed. When you are informed, you can respond usefully with care and compassion, and this type of response has scientifically been proven to support the most effective outcome for the person disclosing and the person being disclosed to. A summary of responses to a traumatic event. Typical responses to a traumatic event are one or more of the following. Fear responses to reminders of the event leading to avoidance. Feeling like you are losing control of your life or your mind. Re-experiencing the event through flashbacks. Problems concentrating and staying focused on the task at hand. Feelings of guilt, shame and self-blame. Developing a negative self-image. Depression. Disruptions in close relationships. All of these reactions are normal, and there is no such thing as a typical response. It is important that we respond compassionately to any disclosure given to us. What are the cultural barriers to reporting a disclosure? Ignorance of reporting procedures, such as where to report and how to report. Embarrassment and shame. Normalization in society of particularly low-level acts of sexual misconduct, meaning reports of disclosures will not be taken seriously, particularly for females. Previous bad experiences of reporting, such as judgmental or victim-blaming attitudes. What to do? Any type of disclosure can happen at any time, anywhere. If possible, find a safe space to discuss. If someone comes to you immediately after being assaulted or raped, consult this document. What do I do now for students? What do we do now for staff? An important reminder to everyone. Our coping increases when we access support. It is good to remember that support and accessing it is an individual thing, which we need to understand and support when the person is ready, not when we're ready. It is important to give back choice because it was taken without permission when their experience of trauma occurred. A quick disclosures recap. Show up to the moment compassionately and without judgment. Listen carefully to what is being said and how it is being said. Respond supportively. Ensure the person is safe. Do not put pressure on them. Ensure that they can access supports that they feel they want. If unsure about safety or suicidality, contact others to enlist help. For students and staff, we have a range of supports across college should you need to reach out. For example, the Student Counselling Service, College Health, the Junior Dean's Office, the Senior Tutor's Office, the Disability Service, TCD SU Welfare Officer and the SU Team, the Student Learning and Development Team, or the Occupational Health Team. For students in halls, the JCR Welfare Officer is available to reach out to, and of course the JCR team alongside the Assistant Warden teams. The Assistant Junior Dean team are available to guide students to the next support steps on campus. Staff can access the Employee Assistance Programme and staff representatives can also give support. For both staff and students, there is a list of Dignity and Respect liaison persons who can be contacted via the TCD site www.tcd.ie/equality/. Finally, anyone can make an anonymous report about anything that feels uncomfortable on the TCD Speak Out Anonymous Reporting tool. This was rolled out across most colleges in 2021 to assist students, staff or visitors to make an anonymous report should they wish to. The link to the tool is featured in this slide, www.tcd.ie/equality/speakout. Thank you for listening. Should you have any questions, you can contact the TCD Together Consent Team at togethertcd@gmail.com.